Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Think Big with Michael Zellner. All positive, no politics. My guest today is Becca Grabinski. Becca is the owner of Soulful Living. She is an intuitive soul coach and a transformation mind healer. And she also is the author of the book, Light Your Soul on Fire, Living an Abundant Life. Becca, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. So tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
That most people don't know. Hmm, I like that. That I actually use almost zero to no chemicals in my lifestyle. Like no chemicals, except for my mascara because it's waterproof and I live in Florida. But other than that, I would say that's one of the things that I never talk about is a huge part of health, right? And wellness and mindset and brain function, right? Is what we put on our body and in our body. So I'm very conscious of it, but I never talk about it.
How are you able to use no chemicals in your body?
10, 11 years ago, before I had my first child, I was researching baby products and came across Johnson and Johnson being toxic. Something in their products was toxic, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." So I went down the rabbit hole. I searched everything I possibly could, and I found Young Living, and they're an essential oil company. And I started using them 11 years ago, and everything that they have replaced everything in my home. So I got all my family on board, and I've just been using it ever since. So one stop shop,
That's awesome.
except for the mascara.
Okay. So
Of course.
you went to college at St. Cloud University in Forest Lake, Minnesota, and got a Bachelor of Science in Finance. And while you were in school, you actually worked as an operations analyst and more in mortgage sales with the company. Your background is in business development, finances, mortgage. You were obviously a strict taskmaster and a go-getter at a very young age.
Mhm.
How did everything that you accomplished at that young age help prepare you for going in business for yourself just 4 years out of college?
Well, my path was corporate America. I wanted to climb all the way to the top. I wanted to run the company. I wanted to be on the executive team. I ended up going from there into insurance sales, loved it. But the thing that didn't work for me, like, so that prepared me. I was obsessed with it. What didn't work is people telling me what to do. I could be successful if intuitively I listened to what's on my heart. But outside of that, like people telling me how I should do it ended up failure. So I could be number one in the sales team if you let me rise, but if you tell me how I should or shouldn't do it, it's not going to work.
Wow. And so you decided that this did not work for you.
No, once they started kind of cracking down and trying to figure out how I did it and taking what I'm doing and bringing it to other people, it's like success is an internal game, not an external. Yeah, strategy helps, right?
Right.
We're not following what's in here. It's a no.
So you had your own business. You talked about the essentials, Drops of Joy, for about 5 years. Then you started Soulful Living at the beginning of 2017. What made you decide to transition and become a mentor, a healer, and a coach?
So it was December that I had the switch and I was meditating, and it was like, you need to let this whole drops of joy thing go. Like, you're helping a ton of people and everything is amazing, but you need to let this go because there's so much more for you. There's a bigger path for you. And at that point, I was angry. I worked so hard to get here. I was supporting my three kids, right? I was divorced. I had a successful business. I was doing this on my own time. Everything was working out amazing. And now it's almost like the universe is like, hey, let me guide you into an entirely different path that you don't know anything about. So I hired a marketing manager. She put all this stuff together, built my brand, did all these things, and we had a falling out and I lost everything.
Oh my.
And so I jumped, failed, heartbroken, grief, and I just realized, like, okay, Becca, your job isn't to like have somebody else put together something for you, right? That's ego. Like, can you trust yourself?
Right.
So, built my own podcast, built my own website, built my own brand, built my own products, just started telling the world about it, and people started to hire me. And initially, when I started coaching, I would say it wasn't a failure in business sense, but it was a failure as in those that were working with me weren't getting results. It was because I was giving everybody the exact same process forgetting that like we all have a fingerprint and it's all different, right? Which means
Right.
that there's no one way for everybody. And so when I leaned back and I trusted myself and I let what came through me transpire into an individual's transformation, and then it started happening like this. And all of a sudden, people went from where they were to where they wanted to go, and they were like quantum leaping. So it was uh, kind of crazy, the whole progression. Like, if I were to know before I started that this is how I would get here, I'd be like, yeah, you're crazy. There's no way. But very intuitive.
I talk about a lot, how you got to figure out where you are and where you want to be. And you just
Mhm.
mentioned that. And that's one of the key things that changed my life is figuring that out for sure.
Mhm. When you can feel somebody, like when you're in somebody's presence, you can feel if they're living in alignment or not, right?
Right.
And you can feel when somebody is doing something out of their ego or out of soul. We can all feel it. We all have those gifts. And so it's not right or wrong. We have to go through the ego journey to get to the soul journey, right? We have to feel the pain of misalignment to get to alignment. And I would also beg to differ that there's an easier way. That what if we didn't have to suffer? What if it just got to be amazing and fun and it was up and up only? What if?
Right. In your book, Light Your Soul on Fire, Living an Abundant Life, you talk about waking up one day and coming to the realization that you're just going through the motions. And everyone around you thought everything's great in her life. And however, on the inside, you said you felt empty. What happened that made you realize a lot of that was going on and that made you make some major changes in your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to call that my awakening because I remember I was sitting on the floor and I just looked around my life and I was like, I hustled here. Like when I was sitting in careers class in high school, it was like, you know, dark, tall, and handsome man, 4-year degree, career in corporate America, 2.5 kids, beautiful house in the suburbs. Like I hustled to get there, right?
Right.
And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at like society told me this is what I'm supposed to do. Like I did it right. What's wrong?
Right.
And you know how like people come into your life for a reason, a season or a lifetime. And I had an individual that walked into my life and she said to me, she said, there's a better way. And I started doing sessions with her. And so she taught me to listen, right? She taught me not even just to listen. I was hearing it, but I wasn't trusting. And I remember the day I was sitting on the floor at her house, right across from her, and we were talking about my marriage at the time. And she said, "What are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm done." And I literally took my wedding ring off my hand and I set it on the floor. It was like burning. And I literally get a text from my ex-husband now, and he's like, "What changed? Something happened."
Wow.
Instantly. And I was like, we both knew that it was coming, but
Sure.
that was like it just showed energy, right? It just showed that we're all connected. And it also showed that it's one of the best things we've ever done, right? So, although society says this is what should, it's a great guideline for somebody that doesn't know or somebody's that not yet connected, but it's not the way long term.
I think a lot of people believe that if they do more, talking about, oh, you got to do more, you got to do more, than what they're currently doing, that things will improve and get better in their lives. And you've said that you actually, when you did more, it didn't do anything for you, that you felt a lot of disappointment when you did more and you were trying to figure out what was wrong with you. Why is that the case with many people that when they do more, it sometimes makes things worse?
Well, because we're acting out of ego and out of fear instead of out of faith. And the hustle is a real story, right? The hustle is, we've seen people like Elon Musk, right? That he's still consistently in this hustle. But what people don't see is it's not a hustle of ego, it's a hustle of alignment. So if you can align the doing more with you're being called to hustle internally, you're great. If you're here and you're being called to hustle because you're afraid of failure, which many people can hit success but not be happy that way, right? That's where I was. It's not aligned. It doesn't work. And when we look around the world and be like, okay, this is what I want, let's see how everybody else is doing it and doing that, and then it never works, they instantly go into this story of like, well, then it's not for me. But it was put here. And I remember the day that Bob Proctor, I was sitting in front of him in Toronto, and he says, if you can feel it here, you can put it here. He was standing right in front of me, and I was like, got it. Noted. So everything that comes through here, I never tell the story that it's not possible. I just say, show me how. I can't wait to see how you get this to happen because this sounds wild. And it happens, and it's fun, and we're here to have fun. This isn't a serious accomplishment, check off the list, see how many things you can do by the end of your life. It's a journey of let's see how fun this can be every single day. Let's jump out of bed every single morning and be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what shocks and awes me today.
What a great attitude. You talk about how there are many people that they get a coach and they listen to all the experts, they read all the books, they watch all the YouTube videos and podcasts, yet they're still really frustrated with their life. Why is that?
Well, there's two answers to that. The first one is that it's not about what we know, it's about what we do. So we can learn and learn and learn, but we're not actually embodying it or taking the steps to do that. We're not really going to get anywhere, right? It's
Right.
not about, this is 2% of our total capacity, and this is 98%. So if somebody's taking action, even out of misalignment of trying to be and go and do, yeah, they're going to like trip and fall, but they're in movement, right? We
Right.
evolve by moving. So that movement is really, really valuable. But then on the other side, as they're moving, chances are they're going to be like, oh, but I'm feeling this. And if they can trust that feeling and they can move in that direction, all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this works. Oh my gosh, this works. Oh my gosh, this works. I had 6 months ago, I had this aha where it was like, do this mastermind. It's 6 months, it's weekly. It takes people, like, I just had gotten done with the Costa Rica retreat. And I saw the massive changes in 1 week. And I thought, this is good, this big explosion of transformation. But then afterwards, how do they hold it?
Right.
And I said, I'm never doing a mastermind. I think they're dumb. I don't want to do them. Right. I was very, very resistant, but my soul was like, ha ha ha, you're doing it anyway. Right. We don't necessarily get to choose. And so I was like, okay, I'll jump. And the premise behind it was same level or more of transformation, but consistently walking the path. And what happens is we're doing, right? And over time, that's who we become. And so the concept of over the course of 6 months learning to trust yourself versus over the course of a week, or you're navigating all of the, like how you said, the podcasts and the trainings and the, I've gone to Tony Robbins, I've gone to Bob Proctor, Amanda Francis, you name it, right? Melanie
Right.
and Lair. It's all well and good, but we've got to intuitively be like, is this my truth or not?
Right.
Right? That's a long answer, but
That's no very good answer.
get me
Um,
going.
that's what I wanted today.
Uh,
You got knocked down many times in life until you said you listened to the whisper of your soul. What did your soul tell you?
mm, so many things. First time I heard it clearly was we weren't married yet. We had bought the house. I was sitting in the kids' bedroom before we had kids. It was an empty room. And everything in my body was like, don't do this. And instantly, like, ego jumped in and was like, your dad paid all of this. You have 1,000 red roses that are coming. Like, what are you doing? This is the best day of your life. Why would you walk away from it? And then a week before I got married, I had a really close friend call me and say, it doesn't have to be me, but please don't do this. I know that this is not aligned for you. And I shut
Wow.
them out. I shut down my intuition and I walked the misaligned path. And looking back, I'm grateful that I did. Because for me to teach what I teach, I have to be able to relate with the people, right?
Right.
That are crazy misaligned. And I don't know if you know, but it's a lot of people in this world. It's more common, than what we know. And it's a feeling of normal. It's almost like when you feel like, oh yeah, I'm healthy. And then you do something to shift your health, and all of a sudden you feel like such crazy elevated energy and vibrancy. We didn't even know that level of health was available until we experienced. Same thing for soul growth. Like, people leave the retreat and they're like, their face looks different, their body looks different, The way that their energetic vibration is totally different. They didn't even know it was possible because they've never experienced it before.
Why don't more people get help? They know they need help. They know that there are things out there that can help them, like, self-help books, whatever it is. They know that there's things for them, but they don't do it. Why?
Mm-hmm. Fear. They're afraid of change. They're afraid that maybe the relationships that they have, the people in their life, their significant other, their family will change. And which is interesting because everything is always changing, right? Energy is always constantly in motion. And we've like been birthed into a world that's comfy, cozy, easy, right? We can go through the drive-through to get food. Everything is as simple and easy and comfortable as it possibly can. And so for us to be brave and to jump and to step out of that, the very first step is the hardest. Even when I went from like massive transformation to like stillness at the lake house in Forest Lake, to moving to Florida, that first step to Florida was debilitating to my nervous system. Like here I am driving 7 states away with 3 kids, and I like leased a place I had never seen in a town I had never been to.
Wow.
And that first step, I remember driving in. I remember calling my mom, like, "Am I really doing this?" Like, it just hit me, like, "This is a little wild, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah, just go. You can come back if you want to, right?" So the fear is really the debilitating piece, but the fear isn't actually real. The fear is our ego taking over. It's the noise in our head versus the whisper of our soul. And this is going to put you on your most aligned path 1,000,000% every single time. Whereas this is going to keep you in misery
Right.
most of the time.
You tell people that they're worthy of living a soul-led life. What is a soul-led life?
It's literally where we surrender to the voice within. And we get to create this. Like, I think there's a misconception sometimes. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, something inside of me is like controlling and navigating my life. No, you get to feel the desires. And the soul, it's almost like a GPS system, right? Like your desire comes through. Like for me, I'm feeling like I need a helicopter to go from Melbourne to Tampa because I don't like to drive that, right? So I think a helicopter is necessary. Funny desire, but doesn't it sound super fun? Like, oh, we're just going to take the helicopter over to
Right.
dinner in Tampa for the night. Okay. And so that's the desire. So intuition, right? That soul guidance is like, that's the GPS coordinate of where we desire to go. And then the soul guidance says, go left, go 2 steps to the left, 3 steps forward. And it brings you the most efficient path to said helicopter. And there's nothing off limits. And so you throw that GPS coordinate in there. And if you can spend most of your time believing that it's possible, it's going to show up really fast. The more that you put doubt in there of like, I don't know how, or that's crazy, or I don't know anybody that does that, you're just slowing down the process. So why not play with it and see what happens? What do you have to lose? At the end of the day, if the helicopter doesn't come, still have a vehicle to drive, right?
Right. Right.
So let's play. Let's have fun.
You focus a lot on one's ability to create their own reality. We all have free will. We all have pre-planned destinies that occur in our lifetime. What does that mean to you?
So I love this. I actually just talked about this yesterday. Destinies are things that we chose before we came here of different ways that our soul desires to grow, right? And in these destinies, they also catapult us towards our desires. Our desires are also within our DNA, within our cells of our body. So they actually work together. So, for example, this business that I have, the way that I transform people was a destiny. I was going to get here regardless of how I got here. Same thing with the divorce. I believe that that was a destiny. For that to happen for me was a wake up call, and it didn't have to be as dramatic, right? Like that's
Right.
our will. We made it harder by holding on and choosing fear. But the destiny can be harmonious. It doesn't necessarily mean struggle. Almost, this may be controversial, but almost to the point of like death and losing someone. Death, we're told, right, is loss. Loss creates grief. But what if it wasn't true? What if it wasn't lost? What if we're still connected? What if it was just the meat suit leaves the soul, right? There's so many different perspectives and perceptions that can take off the struggle and the suffering and put it aside where we literally can expand, which I mean, it's really divine love energy. And if we can see through the lens of that, which is like third eye, crown chakra energy, all of a sudden you see this world so differently. And it kind of turns into this like fun game of like, what do I do next? What shall we create? Right? As if you're like Picasso making a brand new painting. You can do it however you want.
Talking about energy, I follow John Edward Medium, and it's really helped me a lot when I lost my father. Getting through it, to know, he said energy never dies.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, our loved ones, they don't miss us because they still have us.
Mm-hmm.
We miss them, on a physical level because we don't have them, but they're not missing us. They still, the energy around, they're around us all the time, and they see what's going on in our lives. And I truly believe that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have the full capacity to connect with them anytime that we want to. It's just not the physical touch, right? I mean, have you ever had a situation where you've smelled something which reminded you of somebody that had passed, or you felt something, or you had a deja vu, right? Like all of that is happening. And we can also set the intention or the desire that they're just with us all the time, however that looks.
My favorite quote of yours is when you said, "We all have a choice. We can flow down the river with ease, or we can paddle upstream and create a life of constant struggle." Why are so many people paddling upstream rather than flowing down the river?
I think because they just don't know. I think everybody's really doing the best they can with what they know. And I think that's why my message is so important to me, to show up every single day and to tell the world how good this gets to be. Because when somebody finds me for the first time, it catches their attention because they're like, really? There's hope? You mean I don't have to work this hard? You mean I could? And I love it when people are like, yeah, that's not, you're crazy, Becca. Like, there's no way that I can attract the woman that I want or the man that I want, or there's no way that I can make the money that I desire. Like, this is just my destiny. And I was like, let's try again. And so, my question is always, are you willing to see this differently? Are you willing to look at your life differently? Are you willing to allow yourself to expand into something that maybe you've never thought of before? So I was having a conversation this last week with an individual, and I said, if money wasn't an issue, you could have anything you want, what would you want? And his answer was, I'd buy an NFL team. I'd be an owner of an NFL team. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, I'm not really into sports. So I was like, I didn't really think about that. And I was like, okay. And I said, why? He said, well, it's a team of, okay, so I don't know how many teams. I'm guessing 24, 25, 26 teams. There's like, let's just say 24 people in the world are owners of an NFL team. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's a cool desire, right? Why
Right.
not? And I said, so what does a team go for? And he was like, I think he said like 3.5, 4 billion. I was like, billion. Okay. Like, so I expanded in the conversation of like, here I am, like playing with a little, measly helicopter over here. And you're over here, like in the billions. And so I took my mastermind this last week, and we did Billionaire Blueprint, where I help them. We've always worked in the millions. Never once did the billions ever cross our mind. And so we sat in this energy of expansion, and everybody sat differently. And then this week we went into, okay, sitting in this billionaire blueprint of like living this life where maybe you own an NFL team, or something like that, where there's literally, you feel so much freedom that like you don't even think of money. Now, what does a healthy relationship look like? And we brought the two together.
Cool.
Yeah. And so expansion is not just things or money or experiences. It's, what if we had healthy relationships and freedom at the same time? There's so many mindset shifts that had to happen. It was last night around it, and incredible to watch.
Why are so many people that are successful and they reach their goals still unhappy?
Because it's an ego goal, not a soul goal. They hit the ego marks, they pushed, they hustled, they grinded, they did all the things, but they never once asked, what do I need here? And those are my favorite clients because they do have everything that they want, but they don't feel the way that they desire to feel. And I think at the end of the day, in this given moment, right, we can all feel grateful. We can all feel happy. We can all feel elated. We can all feel ecstasy. The feeling is a choice, but it's taking that feeling and setting the intention of, I want this experience, this destiny, this transformation to feel XYZ. And then we get that. But we weren't taught that, right? We were taught by parents that were like, if you don't work hard and if you don't struggle, you're never going to get there. And so we took that on. We're like, okay, that sounds amazing. Let's do that.
Right.
And then we do it and we're like, what are we doing? Who taught me that? Why did I believe them? That's what I always tell my kids. I said, question everything. Even when I tell you, question it. Is that really true? Is that really your truth? Or do maybe we want it to go differently? It's a choice.
How important is it to take personal responsibility for your actions and choices to have internal growth?
I mean, it's necessary, right? The only person that has control over having and being and doing whatever you desire is yourself. Showing up every single day, believing in yourself every single day, doing the work, hiring the people, investing in yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you, right? Nobody. And so it's every single morning. My morning routine is on point, right? I go to the gym every single day. I don't miss a day. Um, if I don't show up to the gym and somebody else shows up for me, my body's not going to transform, right?
Right. Right.
And the energy shifts that happen in just the movement of the body help be the person that we most desire to be throughout the day. So it's all on us. And so that's why this connection here and the connection with universe, source, God, whatever, resonates most with you, that's the most epic and profound thing that we can ever focus on. And when we have that, everything else works.
I believe that one of the hardest things to do is to figure out how to get out of your own way sometimes. We sometimes self-sabotage both on a conscious and an unconscious level. For me personally, getting out of my own way happened in a moment for me. I got on my scale March 29th last year, and I was 403 pounds. And I literally said, blank this, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And, in 1 year, putting my mind in the right place, drinking a gallon of water every day, I lost 190 pounds without surgery.
Yeah.
And just completely, made, all these changes in my life that were all positive. What is the power? Thank you, by the way. Congratulations. What is the power of a moment of making an instant decision that you're not going to live the way you're living anymore?
Mm-hmm. A decision is the message to the universe saying, I'm serious. And hope doesn't do it. Wishing doesn't do it. The decision does. Right? It's almost like, I always like to use the example of, like, you're going to a restaurant and you're like, well, I hope somebody will give me a meal. I wish I could have a salad and a burger, right? Or you decide. And that's the difference. And I think even the bigger picture is the next day you wake up and you decide again. And the next day you wake up and you decide again. And when you can consistently decide, even when we don't feel like it, right? The feeling is fleeting. And that we continue to decide and we ask our heart, like, is this still aligned? And if the answer is yes, we continue on that path. So decision is paramount to up and up only, right?
Right.
And we're either going forwards or backwards. We don't stay still, right? Energy doesn't stay the same. And so if we're not intentionally deciding to move ahead every single day, at least 1% every single day, right? We're regressing. And I don't know about you, but when I regress, I feel angry. Like, even the
Yes.
4th of July, right? Like, I had this cake and Rice Krispie bars, and then I was like, no, this is a hell no, right? And then this week has been miraculous, right? And so we're not perfect, right? We're human. We're not gonna, the goal is never perfection. The goal is consistency in the right direction. And the pain of regression, even for a day or two, the pain of it propels us forward even further.
So many of us live in fear and have doubts all the time. And it's really easy to let them consume you. I posted on my Facebook page a great post I saw of yours on Instagram that said, Your faith can move mountains and your doubt can create them. What does that mean to you?
So, faith or fear, we can only have one, right? We can only go one direction. If we are in faith, we cannot have fear. And if we're breathing deeply, we actually can't even feel fear. So, when we're starting to feel fear, just breathing deeply shifts the body, which is really cool. We all have doubt and fear. I mean, people may look at me and be like, oh, Becca's got it figured out. I'm no different than you. I have fears and doubts every single day. The only difference is, am I going to let that consume me or am I going to choose faith? And when I look at the two, if I choose fear, I'm going to create that. I know because I've done it multiple times, right? If I choose faith, I have a chance of even creating this, which makes more sense. Jump here or choose here. This is comfortable. This is easy. This is the one that we were taught from a young age. But this one creates beauty, right? Ecstasy, excitement, vibrancy, the life of our dreams.
You made a big move a few years back and picked up and moved your family from Minnesota to Florida. Besides the obvious of why someone would want to live in Florida, what led you to that decision to move away from your family and to go there?
So I was 11 years old, and my dad has been a truck driver my entire life. And my very first trip just happened to be Florida. And he took me to Pensacola, to the Pensacola beach. And the moment that I saw the ocean and the moment that I put my feet in the sand, something inside of me changed. And so, just like everybody, fear hits in. I turned 18. I had a friend that was like, let's move to Bradenton, which is just south of Tampa. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Got scared, didn't do it. And then I got the sales job in St. Paul, and my territory was Florida. So I got to travel down there a ton. And so I still kind of got the best of both worlds, and I was just obsessed with it. And then my husband at the time, ended up getting his territory in Florida. And he found a house in Fort Myers, and he was like, let's move. And I got scared. I chose fear. I didn't go. So COVID hit, and I was like, okay, like I was pulled. At that point, I was being pulled so hard, I couldn't stop it if I wanted to. And I knew that being here, even though I lived on the lake, it wasn't, it was a no. It was still a dream life in Minnesota, right? But it was a no. It was used to be a dream, right?
Right.
And we evolved. And so I called my ex-husband and I said, hey, how do you feel about me like getting a place in Florida during COVID since kids are going to be online anyway? He's like, yeah, let's try it and see. And so we did that. And this last fall, or last summer, actually, I called him up and I'm like, hi. He's like, hi. I'm like, can I live in Florida full time? And he's like, yes. He's like, I was just waiting for you to ask.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so we did that, and he just said, I fly with them back and forth, and we split it 50-50, and it's been amazing. And everybody says like, "Oh my gosh, like you do that?" Like as if it's impossible.
Right.
It's like you guys don't realize how much work you can get done on a plane ride, right? It's a good way to clean out your email anyway. So it's been there was a ton of fears that prevented me, and eventually, well, actually, I had a friend that said to me, if you were meant to be in Florida, you'd already be there. And that hurt.
Right.
And I was like, watch me, right? You tell me I can't, you tell me that I'm not meant to be there, I'll show you. And that's kind of the fire that lit, where I was like, okay, Becca, let's go. And I had another friend too that lived down here or in Florida that was like, I'm sick of hearing about it. Either move or quit talking about it. Every single person that has known me for a minute knows that Florida has had my heart.
Tell us a little bit about your kids.
So my son will be 11 on Saturday, and he is just a little wizard, super intuitive. One of the things that I have told them is that school is fine, college is fine. I said, but I want you to find your passion. Like, we're not here to follow what the outside world says is possible. So let's forget how everybody does this. What do we want to do? So I don't care what you want to be when you grow up. What do you want to be right now? And my son is obsessed with video games, the Fortnite, the Rust, I guess, is the other game. And he says, I want to build a game and I want to sell it to Epic Games. And I said, all right. So I said, research, how do you build it? What kind of computer do you need? Like, you do the work. I'll support you. I'll front you the money. You'll pay it back. And then my middle daughter, she wants to start a social media account. I think she wants to do Instagram or TikTok, and she is super witty and hilarious, very insightful. She would rather hang out with adults than kids. And so that's kind of her passion of where she desires to go. And my youngest is 7. So Brie is 9, my middle. My youngest is 7, and she is like a connoisseur of fabrics and clothes and design. And so she's sewing all the time, sewing, creating things. And so
It's 7. Wow.
7. And so she wants to have her own fashion company, but what she wants to do is she wants to make like one piece, making a couple of them. You know, she's going to sell them at $100 a piece, and once they're gone, and then something new. So nothing mass, nothing to the big stores, just her own little, not even boutique, like 3 pieces. And once they're gone, for a premium. And it was funny because, right, she's 7. So we had this conversation, and she's like, you know, Mom, like, what if nobody wants to pay that price? Like, if you look at how much, you know, dresses are going right now, you can get one at Target for this. I said, but what if they're getting like 1 in 3 in the entire world? And I said, Bella, like, there's people at every price point. Somebody that's going to value this. Do you think there's 3 people in a matter of billions of people that would be like, oh my God, I need this? Yeah, there is. And I said, so do it and trust yourself and practice. Practice sharing with the world what it is that you love and what you create. The price is irrelevant. There's somebody out there that wants what you're making. Help the person. So at a 7-year-old, like, that's the conversation that we're having, which is incredible, right? I didn't
Yeah.
have that conversation until like 27. um, so yeah, they're fun, and it's kind of like hanging out with a bunch of adults that, you know, don't clean their rooms, but they're amazing. I I'm in Minnesota, and they're with their dad just for the week, and we fly back down on Wednesday, and I'm just itching to see them tomorrow.
What are the most important lessons that you've learned in life?
To question everything, everything, and to not take anything seriously. The moment that we get serious is the moment that we take the fun out of it. And if we're not having fun, what's the point? I am Capricorn. I'm type A. I'm a red personality. I'm super driven, and I can be super serious, super fast. So I try to surround myself with people that are funny, people that are leaned back and having a good time, to remind me that, like, serious does not equal success. Fun does.
You offer lots of courses and different classes and one-on-one training. If someone is interested in learning more about this, how can they contact you, and how do they follow you on social media?
Absolutely. So Instagram is going to be the best way, at Becca Grabinski. Also on Facebook, also on TikTok. And then my website is beccagrabinski.com. And then the 3 ways to work with me right now: one is one-on-one VIP. I've got a wait list for that. That's one-on-one access to me.
That's a positive problem.
Yeah. And then I've got a membership, where if you're like, I just want to get my foot wet, and I just wanted to, like, see what this is, and I want to learn on my own, and I want to kind of take baby steps into this process, the membership is great. It's $44 a month to month. You can cancel anytime you want. Every single week something new comes out that helps you see the world differently. So it's a baby steps to transform, but compounds over time, right? That's that 1% growth every day. So at the end of the year, you've transformed 3 times, 3.5, right? And then the last, which is launching tomorrow, is my mastermind. Every 6 months that comes out. In 2 weeks, we end this first one, and that is crazy fun to see a group of people really rise together, and for me to push them into energies that they never even knew existed. So those are really the only 3 ways to work with me right now. And then Hawaii retreat is coming in January, that we just posted today. So
Cool.
that'll
Do,
be
do you work with people online? Is that what you do mostly, is online?
online and over the phone. Yep. Yeah, because I'm traveling all over the place all the time.
It's amazing what we learned in the last few years with COVID, how, I mean, psychologists and everything, I have a psychologist, and 2 years just on FaceTime, and never did that before. It's transformed so many businesses, where so many people are now permanently working from home because they can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. I can't thank you so much for coming on today. I know you're extremely busy. Obviously, all the stuff that you just listed that you do, you are a very busy person. I love driven people. I just do. It just excites me and it motivates me. And watching you, people definitely need to follow you on Instagram because you post a lot of great things on there and very positive stuff. And you can tell, honestly, you're genuinely happy now. You
Mhm,
really are. It's not an ego. It's not a show. You are really happy. And
mhm.
that's awesome. So it comes out and it shines through.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me.
And I'd love to have you again sometime in the future. Definitely.
Sounds wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks so
So
much,
much.
Becca.
Yeah. Thank you.